the sausage links are getting cold. Here, let me shine your head while you eat.
Stop that! Look, Keenan, we know you're up to something.
Yeah, Keenan, just tell us what it is you want or what it is that you broke.
Well, I never... How insulting.
Kel.
Keenan want to get a driver's license. Don't budge it. Well, since we're on the subject, what do you say?
No, absolutely not, no.
Is that a yes?
Keenan, we have talked about this a million times. You can get your license when you turn 18 and not a minute sooner.
But that's not fair. Yeah, Mark Cram has his driver's license. Kel, I can handle this myself. Mark Cram's got his driver's license. Why can't I get mine?
Hey, Fantas, welcome back to Keenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If I was wearing a name tag, it would say, "Hello, I'm Adam."
And if I had one, it'd say, "Hi, my name is Aaron."
And we're here to talk Keenan and Kel Season 4, Episode 4, Car Trouble.
As Adam just said before we got on air, he said, "Let's get into some car trouble." And I don't know if anybody's ever said that.
No, I don't think so. Which is funny, because this week everyone, around me has gotten into car trouble.
Yeah, that isn't it weird how that happens all at once? Last year, I remember the people living in my house. It was 3 people in one day got into mini fender benders.
My girlfriend ran out of gas.
Oh my god, how does that happen? I've always wanted to meet somebody where that's happened.
Yeah, I don't know what she did. I think then she went she was at 7-Eleven and she couldn't get the gas wasn't working. Regular gas wasn't there, so she had to get $10 of premium and drive somewhere else.
Oh man. Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah, no, I'd never want to be in that situation.
I feel like I've almost been in that situation too many times. I feel like I should have learned my lesson. But, it's I got some more in the tank. And then you feel the car kind of shift down.
You just keep Icarusing it.
Yeah, that's me.
Please be downhill. Please be downhill.
Icarus incarnate. Let's get into some car troubles of our own. Or, of not our own. Of their...
Let's watch Keenan and Kel get into car trouble from a safe distance.
Yes. Sitting in front of a red curtain is a pretty safe distance, I would say.
I would agree. This is a very simple intro, I would say.
And rightfully so. I'm kind of glad they got rid of some of the more gimmicky intros. Hey, let's bend this picture to make it look like there's a wave here. I'm okay with that.
Tarzan across the screen.
Right. Yeah, I'm okay with that not happening. Because that means we have more Keenan and Kel.
Keenan gives Kel a hint about what's going to happen this episode. What is that hint?
The hint is... Yeah, that's it. That's
the word.
That's the gimmick. That's the joke here. The word "the," and then Adam, what happens? What happens here?
Cal takes a guess. He guesses that you want to get your driver's license, and we get into trouble along the way.
And Keenan goes, "Oh, that was too easy of a hint."
Yeah, and so Keenan laughs and leaves, and then Cal is very. I like this. Cal's got a very monkey's paw moment. Where he's I got everything I wanted. This is terrible.
He's like, "Oh, what's happening here? I don't like this. I like being in the unknown." Something I thought was funny, when Keenan leaves, he says, "Come on, Mr. Know-It-All," and then nobody applauded him.
Yeah, maybe it's not a.
It was just, I don't know. It was almost hey, was Keenan just mean there? And I'm gonna plant that seed for later on this episode, because
yes.
I think Keenan's villainhood is kind of starting to really take shape here.
Well, I have to say this episode was written by Kevin Koplo and Heath Seifert, who I gotta say their strong stuff is kind of behind them when it comes to Keenan and Kel, and maybe in the future too. But this seems like a little nadir for them.
Yeah, it seems like almost something that's been done before. In different shows.
The last episode they wrote was Poem Sweet Poem, but before that they wrote The Limo.
Right.
Another kind of car-centric episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like whoever is generating these ideas doesn't have that interesting of life, or maybe they have they like cars a lot, or I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm sorry, but a lot of times people draw inspiration from the world around them, and it's oh, I had car trouble, and that's all your energy is going towards. So
this is a logical place to take Keenan and his interests. Yeah, he's been wanting a car since the pilot episode.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of returning to this theme of wanting to drive because the driver's license is independence.
Yeah, he's all about that, getting the maximum amount of freedom that he can.
Yes, because he wants to grow up too soon.
Way too soon for this world.
For any world. All right, so let's jump into it. Where do we start, Adam? I love this opening scene.
This might be one of my favorite Rockmore household scenes.
Yeah, I think it's actually the best one.
Keenan's wearing a suit jacket, and he's got a dinner bell, and he's ding-donging it, ringing it, and calling everyone down for breakfast.
He looks very well dressed. And then, Roger comes down the stairs, and he's like, what's happening? What's happening? And then Keenan is like putting on this faux British accent. I guess faux was kind of redundant there, but that's okay. He's putting on this British accent, which he's not doing very well.
If you ever seen our dad wake up, like be woken up, he behaves in the exact same way that Roger does in this scene.
Hey, it's our dad. Talk about you. Remember that one time you took a nap?
Oh yeah.
You never took naps, and one time you took a nap. You like closed your eyes and you woke up. Somebody woke you up and you go, "What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened?"
Yeah, I'm not used to that lifestyle.
You should try it.
Yeah, but he's mostly disturbed because it's 5:30 a.m., which is insane for Keenan to be waking his parents up.
Right. It is insane. It almost is like, what is happening here? But anyways, Cheryl comes down with the face mask. There's a big audience, laughter. And then Keenan escorts them over to the table because they kind of reluctantly agreed that, okay, fine, we'll eat breakfast, but this does not seem right.
And they go there, and Keenan's brought out all the bells and whistles for this morning presentation. What does he have for his mother?
He has a giant bouquet of flowers with the stems too long. And it's not wrapped up or anything, just plain old flowers. And then he gives her a big hug, and instead of embracing it, she's like, "What's happening?" Because this is not normal Keenan behavior. Mm-hmm. Normal Keenan behavior is sleep in. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone knows, it's his parents.
Exactly.
I think Cheryl says, "Who are you?"
Yeah. It's a good question. Who is Keenan Rockmore?
Yeah, he presents an award for the world's greatest parents.
And the award, it's not just an award, it's a trophy. Like he has a physical trophy, and it's just this big goblet.
His prop work is A+ too, because he pulls the answer out of an envelope.
Yeah, he's got this. All the while, he's got this dish rag draped over his front arm, like his left arm.
Yeah, he starts singing to them, like, "Here you are."
But he doesn't just sing. He says music and then claps his hands. And who emerges from the kitchen with the violin but Kel? Another fact.
Yeah, Kel can play the violin very well, might I add.
It's excellent.
I don't think it's ever brought up again, but he's cranking that. Actually, that's not true. He played the oboe in House Sitter. Or the clarinet, was it?
Did we ever go into why Kel might be a musician? I know he has a high IQ, but that doesn't really translate.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But we talked about how he might channel past lives.
Okay.
So
all right, that was a little stretch. What about maybe the circus, right? Maybe his family's like musicians, and maybe his family are the musicians of the circus, because it's like you have the circus acts, but might as well have like a ballad singer.
I also it reminds me of there's a student at my college. His name was Will Wood. He later went on to do a bunch of kind of crazy music projects. But he was an insane pianist. He played crazy music, and my friend Mike commented on the situation. He said he strikes me as someone that his parents just had him go and go and go and go to practice and practice and practice until he'd cracked like an egg. Because all his lyric stuff and music was very it was crazed and right. Beautiful and
right.
He was overflowing with artistic energy, and that I really like that explanation. Maybe that's could be what happened in Kel's past. Maybe his parents drilled him with you must be a musician, a musical maestro, and he short-circuited brain-wise.
Yeah, or he was dropped on the head and then he magically learned how to play the violin.
That also happens.
That does happen. Yeah,
yeah.
It's very strange. The brain, we don't understand the brain.
Me.
Yeah. But I like that theory. Or that story more so.
So his parents have had enough at this point. They're like, just tell us what you broke or what you want.
What do you want from us?
And Keenan's still like, I just want to, celebrate my wonderful parents. But Roger knows how to get down to this.
He goes, Kel? And then Kel goes, oh, Keenan wants his driver's license. No, 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 absolutely not.
Is that a yes?
Well, yeah, I just love how emphatic Roger is. And then what's their rule, Adam? What's the rule in the Rockmore household?
Keenan cannot get his license until he turns 18.
What do you think that's about?
Well, Kel did get into an accident in a limo not too long ago. They also, maybe, I don't think we've ever seen them being overly protective to this degree. I think they just think that Keenan's irresponsible, and they've grounded him several times, and maybe that's...
I think you're right. That's probably it, right? They're probably like, no, you're grounded so hard, you're not allowed to get your license till you're 18. And for a kid, that's, like, demoralizing.
I looked it up from the limo episode, that, the episode ended with Kel not being able to get his license until the year 3,523.
Ah, the good old 3,523 joke.
If you're wondering why Kel doesn't drive in this episode, that's why.
Ah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, Keenan's very upset. Kel's like, he's kind of complaining for Keenan to his parents. He goes, oh, but Mark Cram has his license. And Keenan goes, Kel, I got this. And Keenan goes, what? But Mark Cram has his license. Like, Keenan really has a way of words with his parents.
And he also says, like, if I had my license, I would do better on my science project.
Which we learn is due next Wednesday.
And we also learned the kind of show off Keenan's irresponsibility is that he has not started it yet.
Which I can relate with. Have you ever left a project for the last minute, Adam?
I have, but I also worried about it the until then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I put it off, but I didn't, like, absolve me from worrying about it.
Yeah, you spent a lot of mental energy on it, and then you're like, oh, that's basically working on it.
Yeah, all right. I'm storing potential energy, so I'm really good at...
Right, so I
When
can
it's
just
done to
roll
do it.
down. I can roll downhill, climb it up the hill. What happens next? What are we doing now?
He takes the sausages and the eggs.
And he storms away, which is a great move if you're trying to convince your parents of something.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Especially if you're trying to convince them that you're mature.
Act like a child, yeah.
Yeah. So, next scene's back in school. We haven't been here for a bit.
Yeah, I'm happy they still have this set.
And I want to comment, we haven't mentioned Keenan and Kel's outfits yet. They've been pretty, not worth noting until right now.
This is definitely worth noting.
Kel's, like, giant MC Hammer jeans are insane to look at.
They look like Keenan's, like Keenan's jeans.
I was about to say that. Yeah, they look like they belong in him. And he has a very energy-filled moment here, and you can just see his little legs just filling up those entire jeans.
It's almost like, you ever see there's like an Asian garment, like a dress, where like the feet are hidden, your shoes are hidden when you're wearing like the pants kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what it is. Like, you can't see Kel's shoes.
No,
the
they're a
pant
secret.
is so big. The pant is a size 11 shoe.
So, and Kel is getting incredibly mad for Keenan, like, on his behalf. He's like, this is so insulting. You want to drive and not being able to. The law says you can drive, but your parents say you can't.
Keenan's like, I know, Kel. And he's like, no, this is just awful. I feel bad for, yeah. You made sausage and eggs. You did this whole thing for your parents, and they didn't even listen to you.
And I did Vivaldi's concerto.
His violin solo. And
Yeah.
And then Kel says, no, wait, I know what you can do. You can take a horse to the driver's test.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's what he says. Because Keenan's like, all right, fine, I'll learn. I'll do this on my own. I don't need my parents.
Which definitely you do.
Yes, especially because he doesn't know how to drive yet. Which he establishes now, and when Kel asks him that, he says, I'll learn.
I think this episode skips a step. Or maybe,
Yes.
like, like the permit and the 6-month thing. Maybe that's a PA thing, but...
That could also be like they didn't do that in the 90s thing, too.
Right. Oh, the 90s.
Yeah, so, but the main ingredient that he's missing is a car.
Right. And you can't take a driver's test without your own car. What happens next?
Mark Cram shows up.
Yes, Mark Cram, as we learned in the last scene, he has his license. And we're really happy to see him again.
Yes, we are. He's a guest star in this episode, technically. I don't think he's, like, on for the whole season, but he's in, like,
Right.
maybe, like, 3 or so episodes.
Which is about on par with last year.
Yeah, he was in, like, probably the same percentage of season 3.
Right.
But yeah, he does this really cool, hey handshake with Kel. Which I love how they're buddies.
Yeah, because Kel's like a good guy, you know? He
Yeah.
doesn't just use people for his own gain like Keenan.
Yeah, Keenan literally just puts his arm around Mark, and the look in his face says, I need to use you.
Right, he's just smiling like, ear to ear. He looks like the Grinch.
He does. Speaking of the Grinch, our next scene, we go to a car in a very, very obvious green screen.
What? No, that's Chicago.
Yeah, that's the Chicago, right outside Capone High School.
It literally looks like Beverly Hills. Like, it looks like L.A. It's so obviously not.
Not even the footage is good.
No. I also, you know, something that kind of is starting to really get on my nerves is the fact that, like, Keenan and Kel live in Chicago, but they're definitely not, like, in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think the writers are just, like, suburban writers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, the craziest thing is that Keenan, like, works in a bodega.
right.
But if that wasn't this case, if it was just like a regular like gas station or grocery store or something like that, then I don't think everyone would like would know about Chicago. Outside like I think the first season did a very good job of it.
Right. They're framing Chicago, right? But
Yeah.
no, yeah, this is definitely like not Chicago at all. But anyways, we digress.
Mark is like, okay, you've seen my dad's car. Are you happy now? Can we get out? Can we leave it?
And yeah, Keenan's sitting in the front seat, Kel's in the passenger, and then Mark's in the back seat. And it seems like they're just exactly that, right? It seems like they're just kind of looking around, sitting in the car. Mark is kind of oblivious to what may be about to happen.
Kel's like, hey, you should put the roof down. And he kicks this. It's not working, and he's like kicking the roof. He does this crazy thing where I don't know how gymnastically someone would do this, but he's somehow both kicking the roof.
He really does, like, kick the roof. He kind of just sinks in the chair, sits upside down. But yeah, he's like, it's stuck. And then Mark gets all upset.
Yeah, it's not a convertible, is what Mark says.
I love Kel's imagination here. He's like, yeah, why not make this car a convertible? He's so childish, it's great.
So what does Keenan say to Mark?
Well, first off, Keenan buckles up his seatbelt. And Mark's a little concerned about what's happening.
Hey, Mark, can you teach me how to drive? And Mark's like, I don't know, maybe sometime on the weekend.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask my dad. He could take us. And then Keenan says, what do you say you teach me how to drive now? And he turns on the ignition.
And then he starts driving. We just learned a scene ago that he doesn't know how to drive.
And he doesn't just start driving. He starts, like, gunning it.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it's just like a video game.
I like how the car starts moving before it's in drive, by the way.
Yes. The footage is rough. I have to raise a flag that I haven't risen in a bit. Maybe not since like the Who Loves Orange Soda episode, but like this is not a bit that has aged very well. I don't think this is a good thing for kids to be watching.
Yeah, definitely not. Especially this next part.
Yeah, where Kel says, I wonder what will happen if I put my hands over your eyes.
Which he does.
Yeah, and Keenan's driving blind, and he doesn't know how to drive. Like this is a terrible situation to be in. Don't.
And not only that, but he is jerking the wheel and the car back and forth. Now, I really think that this was like a car and there was a green screen behind it. But like they're moving the car. If you look on screen, they're wrestling in the front seat. Like Kel.
Oh yeah.
And then Mark is trying to like help out Keenan, and Keenan's just like yelling, and he's still driving and moving the wheel like crazy. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I think that instead of like the bit that we had in the intro of this one, like in modern sensibilities, you might have a little more like responsible message, like, hey. We're going to be doing stunts in cars this episode. It's very important that you don't do that. Like, this is just a show. This is for laughs. Do not behave this way. And there's funny ways of doing that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to not do what Keenan and Kel does. Isn't that like the kind of the mantra of the show? It's like, don't do what we do.
I suppose so.
Yeah. I mean, this is like an anti-educational show. Like, you're learning how not to behave and be kids.
That's a fair point. But it's just Keenan. This might be some of his most villainous stuff, because he's literally like putting Mark's life like in jeopardy, and he's like threatening him to let me. Can you let me use your dad's car on Wednesday?
Mark's trying to get him to pull over, and he's like, "I'll pull over if you let me use your dad's car on next or for the driver's test." And Mark reluctantly is like, "Yes, okay, fine." Yeah, Keenan straight up bullied Mark into letting him use his car. He became a villain.
Yeah, I think this is called terrorism, right? He hijacked a vehicle. He's threatening.
He didn't hijack it. He was given permission. I guess he did hijack it. It was against the.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a felony, like multiple felonies.
This is some real life GTA, is what
It
this
was
is.
like, I mean, it was threatening, and it was stealing a vehicle, like Grand Theft Auto. Yep.
If you repeated this in Grand Theft Auto, you would get like a 2-star rating, and like
Yeah.
cops would start chasing you down.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's going to all come into play later. I don't want that to detract too much from this episode, but I want to say that this is a very bad. Don't do this, kids.
Yeah, obviously don't do this, kids, but it does kind of seem like a little bit of lazy writing.
Yeah, especially like this was the horrible ending of the Lima episode. Remember?
Right.
Cal gets on the road and terrible things. Yes, right.
That was Cal. This is Keenan.
I guess it's time for Keenan to learn this lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they only have so many props they can work with. Like, at least they didn't try to make another canon.
Yeah, this is gonna beat that score for that episode, no problem, easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every single episode will.
Yes.
Have to be
So
a doozy.
this ends with Keenan pulling over and it's like, all right, great, glad that worked out. And Kel gets sick.
Yeah, he throws up in the car. In Mark's car. In Mark's dad's car, I should say.
Next scene's at the Rockmores.
Yeah, Keenan is grinning ear to ear, and Cal is eating a giant bowl of rice with chopsticks.
Which Mark is kind of like disturbed by because he's got all this cleaning gear. And he's like, how can you eat after you just threw up everywhere? Like this.
Yeah, like this, right? Yeah, Mark was just cleaning the car.
How do you think Mark is this episode? I think he's pretty solid.
Pretty good. Yeah, he plays his
Yeah.
character very well. Because he has a tricky role to play because he has to be very, like, upset. Like, his role is to be upset that Keenan is bullying him. But he's also this innocent kind of, like, wants to have friends guy.
Yeah. So he's like, this is the... You always get the expression from him like, I guess it's the price of friendship.
Yeah, it's that. No, it's not.
No. You can do better than this, Mark. Way better.
Way better. But Keenan and Kel are great people. It's just this episode, Keenan's greed meter is a little bit off the charts.
Yeah.
And
He's,
we'll find out in a second just how bad and how impatient he is.
Right. Because he gets off the phone with the driver's test people. I don't know, the DMV for Illinois.
That's probably the Illinois DMV.
IDOT.
And basically, they offered him a test on Wednesday or Saturday. But Keenan wanted to do it, get it out of the way, so he did it on Wednesday.
They're like, oh, I'll have to go to school late. So he's taking 2 people out of school just because, and he literally explains it like, why don't I wait all the way till Saturday?
Yeah, it's like, you're supposed to wait until you're 18 anyways.
Uh-huh. And he's also super inconveniencing, like, the other person that's affected by this is Mark's dad.
Of course.
Yeah, it's his car. Is it okay for him to, like, Mark to have it today?
What does Mark's dad do for work? Like, who knows?
We don't know what Roger does for work anymore either. But he's going to, by darn.
By golly.
By gosh, by golly.
By golly, he's going to work.
But Keenan realizes there's only one problem left.
Cal offers a very good suggestion about what that problem might be. He goes, there's a meteor the size of Texas on a collision course with Earth. Keenan goes, no.
What does he need?
An adult supervisor.
Yes, someone over the age of 25. And they're like, oh man, if only we knew some sucker over the age of 25 that could be there for us. And Keenan's knows just the guy.
Pan over to Chris polishing his, what do you call this? Platinum? No.
Pewter.
Pewter cow.
He's got a pewter cow collection, which is a great callback to last season.
I would love to have see somebody describe to Chris or the actor Dan to what he's supposed to be doing in this scene. Okay, so here's this pig. Just pretend to polish it as Kenan and Kel walk in.
Yeah, I guess that's what he does.
Yeah, Chris goes, shiny cow, moo.
Just doing. I don't know if this is a good Chris episode. He's got some good lines, but he's also got some weird lines that we'll get to in a moment here.
Yeah. So Kenan walks in and hypes him up. Christopher, Christopoulos, Chris.
Yeah, he's like, don't call me Chrissy. What do you want? He doesn't say directly, but he's like, I'm getting my driver's license next Wednesday. And then Chris says something that upset me as someone that's listened to 51 episodes of Kenan and Kel.
Yeah.
And done a podcast review of each episode. He says that mother still won't let me get my driver's license.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
That's really no, that doesn't make any sense. In season 1, Chris's catchphrase was, I have a radio in my car.
Oh, you're so right.
He gave Kel a ride home on Christmas Eve.
Oh.
He gave them a ride to the lottery department. And there's been several very obvious occasions when he definitely had his license and was free to drive them around. So
yeah, that doesn't really do it for me. I didn't really think of that stuff when it happened, but yeah, that's pretty bad writing.
Unless his mother's doing some kind of brain wiping stuff to him.
Well, it's possible, but I just don't know. I mean, he is polishing a pewter pig or cow,
and it's not that's not a short-term memory thing. That's just a straight up plot hole. Chris definitely has his license.
That's a flaw. And so Chris goes okay, well, why are you asking me? Why don't you ask your parents? Kel goes, they don't know. And then Kenan goes, well, what? They don't know that. How does he cover this?
They don't know how much it would mean to me if you went there as my supervisor. And then Kel almost spoils it again by saying, good cover.
Yeah, he's like, oh, nice job. Kenan's trying to justify his parents are asking, wanted Chris to do it. He goes, because my dad, he really looks up to you. You're his hero.
That's he knows how to get Chris in a good mood. He's like, his hero.
I'm his hero.
Yeah.
Which is just so ridiculous. What?
And then Kel has another terrible suggestion. He says, why don't you just call his daddy up right now and ask him for yourself? So he goes to call him, and Kenan smacks the phone out of his hand and starts slapping it down.
Why don't you wait 10 minutes and then call?
And Chris is okay. And Kenan and Kel book it out of there. Not suspicious at all.
They run. Why do I feel like Chris is an old Mark Cram?
They've got a lot in common.
It's almost like Kenan and Kel are just manipulating these very gullible people this episode. Or Kenan more so. Because Kel is one of those people.
Yes, right. It's time cop rules. They can't be in the same scene together or else they'll cause a disturbance in
right.
space-time.
Yeah. There's a theory. Have they ever been in the same scene?
Yeah, I think so. For Happy B-Day Mark, it was them and Charla had that scene in Rigby's where Charla came up with the ear excuse for Kenan.
Because I was gonna say that Chris's mother shrunk de-aged him, youthified him, or and then he became Mark Cram, but they coexist at the same time. She cloned him and is growing him.
Well, that might explain why his name is a palindrome. He's
yeah. It's like a curse.
He's an invention, is what he is.
Yes, exactly.
A homunculus, if you will.
Oh. Okay. So Kenan and Kel run home and get there just in time to answer the phone. Now, Adam, I love this scene.
It might be my favorite scene of the episode.
Yeah, as bad as that other part was, this whole montage that's about to happen is tremendous.
Another packed episode too. We mentioned that last week. It's corner to corner, good scene after good scene, but there are bad scenes. Well, what does Kenan do the second he gets inside? He hears the phone ringing.
He answers it and pretends to be his father.
And it's a pretty good impression, I have to say.
It's pretty good. Not great. Not as good as
It's a-
ours.
No, yeah, of course.
Absolutely not.
The first thing that he says, like the first 2 syllables, he goes, "Hello." Exactly like Roger. So Chris is asking about, like, oh, he was talking about getting me for his driver's test. Keenan says, "Are you accusing Keenan of lying?"
In that sounds more like a Zurg voice. Lightyear, we meet again.
Chris is very much like, Chris Potter is no sucker, which is very funny because he's absolutely a sucker.
He absolutely is a sucker. Yeah. And now what happens next is just fantastic. So Cal gets on the phone and is impersonating Mrs. Rockmore. How does this conversation go?
Hey, Chris, this is Keenan's mom. Are you enjoying talking with Keenan's dad?
And then he goes, "Oh, hey, Mrs. Rockmore."
He's talking to me, Cheryl. Mr. Rockmore, your voice sounds kind of funny.
Yeah. And then he starts to get all mad. He's like, "Oh, funny."
I will say, too, that this is another wonderful episode directed by Virgil Fabian. And you can tell because he does weird and different camera stuff. In this one, it's a split screen, like a double, triple split screen between these different phones.
Keenan is like, "Oh no, I have to stop this." So he throws the phone, goes up, grabs the phone from Kel. There's a great Skunkador poster on the door.
Yes, it's really neat.
Yeah, that should be some art. Volume number 9 of Skunkador.
And as they're arguing upstairs in Keenan's room, who enters downstairs but
Mr. Rockmore.
Roger answers the phone because he's like, it's just hanging here. And Chris is all like, oh, Roger, nice to talk to you some more, since I'm your hero and everything.
Right. And he goes, "Who is this?" He goes, "Ah, Mr. Rockmore. I see where Keenan gets his sense of humor."
Yeah. And he says, I'm going to chaperone him on Wednesday. What time, 9 o'clock?
And then Roger goes, "I think you have the wrong number." This is a great split screen because Roger's on the left, Chris is in the middle, and Keenan and Kel are on the right in Keenan's room.
Chris says, oh, 8? Keenan's like, 8 is fine. As Roger, to Roger on the other line of the phone. Roger just has no idea what's going on.
Roger's just like staring off into space. He's like,
Yeah,
what?
I think I will say this episode is pretty well written, and it does remind me a lot of Ditch Day Afternoon, how so much is going on for Keenan's life, and he's just balancing everything perfectly.
Yeah, definitely not perfectly, but
No.
he is balancing everything for sure. So we cut to the next scene. It's Keenan in his room reading a driver's license manual. At least he's studying.
Yes, very good.
Driving test manual or booklet or whatever. Driver's handbook, it says. And Michael Jordan's behind him on the poster. And then Kel walks in with his science project.
Oh, yeah. What's his awesome project do?
It turns grape soda into orange soda.
That's a pretty good science project.
That's a pretty darn good science project. It definitely doesn't turn or grape soda. Hate to break everybody's mood here.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's a great prop, though. I should have that
Yeah.
prop for my desk in my room.
Keenan's like, oh, cool. That's a really cool science project. Then he holds up the book. Then he flips it down, and his eyes are huge.
Yeah, he's like, ah!
It's a really good face. It's gonna be on. I'll be on Twitter.
Absolutely. That sums up Keenan's life basically at this point, right? All he wants is this driver's license, but his parents won't let him get it till he's 18. He's doing all this back end stuff to get a car, to get a chaperone, and he's like working, and then he's learning the test. He's like, I gotta learn how to drive. I practiced driving once, now I gotta really learn how to drive, and then he forgets that he scheduled the test for the day the science project is due. Yep.
I've been there. I've been over-focused on other projects, and something falls in the background, and it's like, oh crap, now time to rush this tonight.
It happens all the time. But yeah, Keenan has done it out of sheer impatience and greed.
Cal sounds a lot like I sounded talking to my girlfriend earlier about how she ran out of gas. It's like, we were given this assignment a month ago.
Right. Like, it says empty right there.
This is the most important assignment of the year. You might not graduate. You're gonna end up on the streets. Real cold. Gonna be talking to the trees. Hi, Mr. Bush. And you can tell like Cal's like losing it, like delivering this to Keenan. He's just
Yeah.
so he's smiling real big.
And then Keenan's like kind of shuddering. He's like, the science project. And then Kel goes, okay, good night.
And goes to lie down.
Goes to lie down in his shoes with his hat on. I love Kel's character.
Yeah. I also like, too, that he came over to Keenan's house to show off his project and then go to sleep immediately.
Well, because the big plan tomorrow, they're going to they got to go to school together. Right.
You caught that plot hole.
I did catch that plot hole. Yeah. Kel stays over at Keenan's house whenever
Yeah.
they go to school the next day.
Now, Keenan vows to stay up all night to finish his science project.
Yeah, and it's very clear from the first clip of him sitting on the couch with all this stuff laid out on the coffee table. It's very clear that he's going to make a volcano.
Yes, a papier-mâché volcano. How would you grade his science project based off his look alone?
Is he a senior in high school?
Yes.
No, I grade science projects on a regular basis. Originality is like a 0. But the fact that he actually made it, I mean, he'd get a good score.
Yeah,
He'd get a good
he did
score.
a pretty good art job on it. It's like painted all nice.
I do have to say though, I appreciate Keenan's determination here, because nowadays if a student doesn't get an assignment done, they just blame the fact that they're stressed out and they ask for an extension. But back in the day, it was like, real high school where you if you didn't submit something, you got a 0 and you failed out. Like I kind of miss those days. We need more of that.
I see
No
what you're
student
saying.
left behind though, so here we are. It's like, okay, fine. Yeah, but kids don't have that kind of determination anymore. Some do.
I will say that he is responsible for this. He understands that I am supposed to do this, and I need to do this to pass, so I'm going to do it tonight, at the risk of my sleep.
I think I have a project or two like this that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not for my grad school. Oh wait, I do.
Unless we've woken you.
I was supposed
Don't be
to
a
start
Keenan,
it
Aaron.
I was supposed to start it 1 year ago.
Aaron, you're being a Keenan. This never works out well.
Oh, I have my driver's license though. Actually, it might
That's
be
true.
expired.
I'm talking about my girlfriend. This is your problem. You have a stack of them.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason we pushed this recording on one day. I've had a lot going on.
First thing in the morning, Keenan's like asleep on the couch. Yeah, but his project is finished.
Right. Well, Keenan's asleep on the couch because he closes his eyes and then, he sleeps for like a minute. That's it.
Correct. Right. He's immediately like it's shown that he's had like no sleep as Roger comes down and starts berating him from doing his project last minute. Kel comes down and he sees the trouble that Keenan's in.
Kel tries to wake Keenan up by slapping him in the face. Doesn't really work. Keenan is out of commission for sure.
Keenan tells Kel to punch him to slap him in the face to wake him up.
We're all
And
out
Kel
of
goes,
we're all out of sequence here. That doesn't happen yet.
Oh, Mark is there as well as Kel and Keenan. No, wait, we're not there yet. Let's just take it from the top.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, okay, welcome to Keenan and Kel without an Aaron.
If I had a name tag on, it would say, "Hi, my name is Aaron."
I think we're feeding off of Keenan's vibes right now.
I feel like we feel like Keenan feels at this point.
Yeah.
Right? I think we've all felt it.
Yeah, I haven't got much sleep this week. I'm sure you're similar.
Utter exhaustion, and you're so tired that you're falling asleep standing up. Kel comes down with his science project. He's like, Keenan, and then he tries to wake him up, and he realizes he's really sleepy. He's like, oh no, this isn't good. Rap tap tap on the chamber door. Mark Cram shows up. Keenan wakes up, goes over to Mark Cram, puts his jacket on, and then he's basically just like falling asleep on Mark Cram.
Yep. And Mark's like, this is bad. He can't drive like this, which is the thing that they keep like pushing through. But Keenan's very insistent on it. I have a cousin that I've had a few drinks with before. And like this is the attitude that it's like, I'm falling asleep. I want to be awake. But I am falling asleep, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's an inevitability.
Yeah, it's like, this is just gonna be what happens now. Now, let me just say, the most terrible idea is driving tired. Like, it's worse than driving. I mean, it's as bad as driving drunk. Mythbusters proved it was actually worse.
Wow. And Keenan doesn't know how to drive. So he already doesn't know how to drive. And so trying to drive like while he's like drowsy and sleepy is already a recipe for disaster.
It's not gonna work. But we did forget to say, or we did say it, that Roger comes down, asks what the big mess is, and then he's like getting ready for work.
Yes. So Keenan is like, "Come on, let's go. We gotta go." Mark's giving us a ride. Then they leave, and Cal comes back and he's like, "Oh, I almost forgot my science project." Then he grabs his project, leaving Keenan's on the coffee table as he leaves.
Right. And their excuse for leaving with Mark Cram is that Mark Cram is going to drive them to school. And that was a good cover. Like, that actually makes sense.
The one good cover of the episode.
Right, exactly. So Roger notices Keenan's volcano is still there, and he's trying to get them. I feel like that's such a nice thing that happened here. He's like, oh
yeah.
Boys.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I guess I'll take it in myself," which is good dad, Roger.
Definitely, he's a little angry about it, but that is also a classic dad move right there.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm not happy about it.
Right, but I'll take it to school. I don't think our dad ever went to our school. He chaperoned a field trip that I took senior year of high school. And he was just telling everybody, "I never chaperoned before." He's like walking around like, "I had 3 kids. This is my first time chaperoning something."
Yeah, he was usually, by the time we were going to school, like halfway to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Or all the way there.
Right.
So we're at the DMV, and we enter in on a very awkward conversation that Chris is having with Kel. Do you have it?
And my girlfriend and I said, "No, he's just dressed that way."
Oh, that's not what he said.
Oh.
He said, "Then they thought my mother was my girlfriend." But I said, "No, she's just dressed that way." Which just... What? Like, what's...
Yeah,
Why is it...
a little peculiar. Chris kind of went backwards this episode.
Yeah, what's his mother doing dressed as his girlfriend? How would you dress that way?
And Kel says, "Ew."
Which he should, because Chris's relationship with his mother, that we've learned recently, is definitely his mother. His biological mother.
Right.
It's very scattershot, this episode. I don't like those elements of it.
So Mark goes, "What's taking Keenan so long?" And Kel goes, "I don't know. Let me go find out." And then he yells, "Keenan!" across the whole DMV. It's like a big waiting room, and there's people in line and people sitting down, like taking tests and filling out paperwork. And he just yells.
Yeah, they got these little paper exams. These little blue books that they're filling out.
Meanwhile, he strolls over, moseys his way over to the testing corner, and Keenan is fast asleep on the counter.
Yeah. Cal looks at his exam and sees that he has not filled out anything except his name. And he misspelled his name. What is his name?
Keenan Rocket, which is better name than Rockmore.
That's what Rocket Power got right, that Keenan and Kel did not.
That's right.
Rocket's an awesome last name.
It is a fantastic last name. I gotta go back and watch Rocket Power. I remember loving that show, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
It's got some standout moments. Look for the Tito episodes.
That's how my brain works, you know. I remember that I did things, but I don't remember like the episodes or the shows so that's why going back and watching this stuff, I'm like, I could imagine myself watching this as a child, but I'm like,
I have some moments like that from when I was like really young, like for example, Doug.
Right.
Like, you know, me and Dad watched Doug like nonstop when I was growing up, and I don't like remember most episodes, but I've rewatched some, and when I do, my brain remembers it though. It's like I'm quoting it
weird?
as it's happening and feeling it. I hate that feeling. It's the worst sensation ever.
Yeah? Okay, do you your subconscious actually remembers pretty much everything that you ever experienced. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Did you ever listen to a podcast and then you gotta like pause while you're driving or something? Then you go back and pick it up and you like listen to the part you listened to already? And then you can like imagine where you were the first time you heard it?
Yes, I can picture myself physically where I was.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't happen. Like other people don't have that, but I have that. Like what?
Yeah.
What's up with our brains?
That also happened to me like years later. I'll be listening to an old episode of a podcast.
Yeah.
And I remember where the bus was driving.
I
Like, when
remember
last
walking to
listened
school
this.
on City Line Ave and like just kind of muffle, like the time of year it was. Yeah.
I remember what machine I was on at the gym when I last listened to
Right.
this.
Yeah. What the heck? Memory is so
that's weird.
strange. I think you're more likely to do that when you're doing something. Anyways, you're more likely to remember it when you're actually embodying,
Sure.
like doing something physically. Anyways.
Especially when you're doing something like new. Like I went over. I posted some photos from my Maine trip recently, and it was very vivid in my memory because I had never been to any of these places before. All right, but enough about memories. Kel answers Keenan's entire test for him,
Yeah, he fills it out.
that's a crime, right?
There's many felonies
that's-
committed this episode.
To further complicate this, when he goes up to the DMV counter and talks to the lady, he learns that Keenan got 100%, got every question right.
Because Cal's very smart, and he plays the violin.
Yeah, he's good at test taking, and he channels crazy knowledge.
He knows all the right answers. So we did miss a scene though, really quick, before we find out. Not a scene, but a moment before we find out that he got 100. Chris is standing over at the counter with the DMV lady who is not
Yes.
taking any kind of, she is no messing around, 100% business. She's chewing
She's
gum.
pretty great.
She's pretty fantastic.
She's played by an actress named Dee Freeman, and she actually goes on to do a lot more stuff than you would think.
Yeah, I love this. She was great in this scene. Chris
Yeah.
goes, because I am an adult. And then she's just looking at him. She's like, okay. And then Chris goes, I'm Keenan's dad's hero. And she goes, that's great. Why don't you go be his hero over there? Or something like that.
Yeah, she really dismisses him. She's the perfect DMV worker.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Except that she doesn't catch what Cal is about to do, and that is when Keenan does his vision test. Cal reads off the letters for him. I do want to say that this doesn't happen. Keenan doesn't often get this opportunity to act really physically.
Right.
That's more Cal's jam. So this episode, him pretending that he's fallen asleep, almost asleep, and just being slumped around Weekend at Bernie'sing around, is very good.
Right. Keenan's in front of Cal. Cal's behind him, and he's kind of slogging Keenan over to the counter. Keenan stands up straight. He's sleeping, and then she goes, "Here's your test," and then you got 100%. And then Cal kind of throws Keenan to the ground.
He's like, "Woo!" and Keenan falls.
Yeah. Meanwhile, before
He's like, he's so excited. Yeah.
Keenan fell off the counter when he was sleeping on it, and then he fell too. So that's the second time Keenan's fallen.
And like Jesus, he will fall a third time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very inspired by the biblical stories, this episode.
Yeah, because Chris is was watching over him like Christ would.
Yes, exactly. And Mark Cram is like a young Noah, and because he has an ark.
He provides the vehicle.
All right. So Kel sloshes Keenan over to the eye exam station and tries to make it look like he's standing up, and it's hilarious.
Every time she looks back, he smacks him awake, and he's
Yeah.
looking back and forth, and
He's so obviously sleeping. So he has to cover his right eye. So Kel throws his Keenan's arm up, and then he throws his left arm up, and it's just funny. It laughs all around.
because this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous scene.
Yeah, and so Kel, of course, gets 100% on the eye exam. She turns around and she goes, "That's very good. You got them all right." And Keenan wakes up. He goes, "Thank you."
Just so out of it.
Then it's time to take the picture, and of course, it's Keenan and Kel together, and they take a tremendous picture here.
Can you read any of the information on this transition scene about Keenan?
Oh wow, on the card. Give me a second. I'll be able to read it in a second.
I just curious, because I've been trying to narrow down exactly what Keenan's age is and how and what makes sense. I think I'm gonna post a big write up of it on our website.
I really don't think there's
Our
enough
page.
information. Oh, I got when it expires. No.
Oh, when's that?
7/20/2000.
I guess it might be like a permit type thing.
This is a fake driver's license, Adam. I hate to say.
Okay.
It says Chicago on top in Times New Roman, all caps. And then it says DMV on the side.
Okay, yeah,
And then
I
it
got
says
it, so.
Keenan and Kel together. Keenan and Kel, with an ampersand or whatever it's called. 111 Street, USA. Car car 389473920839. That's their car, which is not on your driver's license.
No, not at all.
And yeah, that's not a real driver's license. Also, why did it seem like the license picture was already taken, even though he didn't take the physical portion of the test yet?
I had no idea. Keenan is sitting behind the wheel of Mark's dad's car. And he is, like, clearly asleep.
He's as asleep as it gets. So Kel has the awareness enough. He knows enough about driving tests that he's like, oh, you want to have your seatbelt on before the guy gets here. So he puts Keenan's seatbelt on for him and then pulls his arms through in a very awkward fashion, but like so that they're on 10 and 2.
Which is what they used to do back in the day. Mm-hmm. We learned 9 and 3.
Did we?
I did. I don't know.
You definitely drive 9 and 3, but no, 10 and 2 is correct.
Because nowadays they have airbags in the steering wheel, and if you have them at 10 and 2, if that goes off, they'll like break your arms.
You know, that makes sense. If you want that to be true, I'm sure it's true. I just drive.
Okay, well.
Most of the time I'm at 6 and I have like 3 fingers on the wheel. So, I don't know what to say. Maybe I'm at like 5:45.
I think it's a parable of responsibility in this episode for you.
It's a wake-up call.
Which is what Keenan needs right now. So the inspector comes over, and like he's like, is he okay? About Keenan. Cal's like, I'm gonna slap him a couple more times.
The guy's slapping him awake. We zoom out of the car, and Chris goes, hi, I'm his adult.
So the inspector kind of tells Keenan the lowdown. He's like, all right, I'm gonna check on your signals first. He's like, all right, yeah, cool. When he goes around to the back of the car, Chris stands next to him. Did you know what Chris says?
Yeah, he says, hey, I don't really have many friends. Do you want to come over and play backgammon with me and my mother? Which I just love. I love that.
Yeah. We've been talking about our dad so much. I think the backgammon call-out is also a very good one.
Yeah, very good one. Very good
Yeah.
one. I personally would love to play backgammon with Dan Frischman.
I'd love to sit down for a couple games with him. It's not a 3-player game, so I don't know why he's inviting him over. With him
His mother's going to be pissed.
Oh, yeah. Bringing someone in? Like, how dare you? He's going to turn him into a pumpkin or something.
Do you know this inspector guy, this driving test guy's name is?
I don't think I do. I'm
I
checking
think
out the website.
I think it's Leonard. The name tag is very big.
Someone has been credited on like many episodes of Keenan and Kel, these later season episodes. It's called, his name's Michael Egan, and he's as Officer Mike, uncredited. He's been on like 5 episodes. We have never seen an Officer Mike. I don't know who that is.
Maybe the police officers from like some like the bomb and.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I'll have to look into it.
The guy goes to stand up in front of the car. Keenan falls asleep, hits the Prindle. It goes into drive, and then he just goes into like 1 gear, and then he runs over Leonard. Sorry, I sped that up, but I mean, I just didn't want to drag it out.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. And it happens very fast, too, because he hits him, knocks him over, and then he drives into traffic and gets into a fender bender.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Leonard's on the car the whole time.
And like, everything bad that could happen happens, and it's like, what do you... My thought process is just to Kel, like, yeah, what did you think was going to go down when you put an unconscious man in front of this wheel?
Yeah, it was building up the entire episode. So you knew it was coming,
Uh-huh.
but to see it actually happen, it's like, wow, I'm glad they kind of went through with this. And then, this is the best part of the episode right here. Adam, who
Yes.
did they hit?
Mark yells, my dad's car! Chris yells, I hope I'm not responsible for this. Keenan gets out of the car and he's like, what's going on? He goes to say, I'm sorry about hitting you, to the person in the other car. And it's none other than Roger Rockmore, who is not just freaking out, his Keenan's science project is going off and shooting orange soda everywhere.
It is a great scene, and it's just so painful to watch. It's so painful to witness. This episode is pretty darn painful.
It's a very cringeworthy episode, and he shouts, Keenan! Why?
Yep. He yells. He has a good why, and I mean, oh man, that's one expensive mistake that Keenan just made.
Yeah, this might be the most trouble Is this the most trouble they've gotten into?
It's a lot of trouble.
You know it's big trouble when Roger shouts why.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Last time that happened in the Cold War, too. And that's the episode.
Well, that's the episode. I don't have an ending scene. Nope.
Keenan and Kel come out on stage, and Kel says to Keenan, "Hey, let me see your driver's license." And then he pulls out from his wallet a piece of paper, and he gives it to him. And he's like, "Here." And Kel's like, "This isn't your license." He's like, "Yeah, it's a bus pass." Now I have to wait until I'm 118 to get my license.
Rightfully so.
And Cal's like trying to make him feel better. He says, "At least you weren't driving a car when your daddy had an accident." He's like, but I was driving a car when my dad had an accident. "Well, at least you don't have to pay for the damages you did to Mark's dad's car." He's like, I do have to pay for the damages to Mark's dad's car. "Well, at least at Kel, there's no bright side to this." Grab a cordless telephone, a cord, and a car, and meet me at the clam bake. Come on, Ducky. And that's the episode.
Clam bake. Oh boy, nice.
Whew, I remember this one better than it landed for me.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't the best, but it was still pretty good. Like, I actually did enjoy it. I know right now I'm really tired, but I was watching it and I was like, okay, I can see how it's still high energy. Keenan and Kel. The acting is still fantastic. It's still high energy. Keenan and Kel. The acting is still fantastic.
Yeah, their chemistry is like through the roof. The crux of this episode relies on like just really awkward. So yeah, it's a real mess. Who's at fault do you think this episode was? Keenan's or Kel's?
Keenan's. Are you kidding me? That's like a no-brainer.
He stayed up all late, but Kel really pushed him through this test.
He did, but he didn't know any better. He thought that's what Keenan wanted.
Yeah, he was just kind of answering to Keenan's wishes, which he kept saying, like, no, I gotta do it. So he was being the best friend that he could, but yeah, bad crimes were committed.
Keenan took advantage of 4 people this episode. Well, 5. His parents.
Yeah.
Kel,
he disobeyed
Mark
them.
Cram, and Chris.
He may have broken the 10 Commandments, every single one of them.
And he's like a villain, right? He's like a bad guy this episode.
I do not agree with any of his moves either. So, all right, Keenan was bad, and but there were some redeemable moments. Car Trouble on IMDb has a 6.8 out of 10. It's ranked 60 out of 62, like third to last.
Wow, really?
I didn't think it was that terrible, but yeah. I did not love this episode as much as some other ones. Aaron, out of 10 bottles of orange soda, how many would you give Car Trouble?
You know, initially it was 8.5, and then you walk through it, and I'm like, this is not really the best Keenan and Kel. So I'm going to go 7.5, because I still think it was a watchable episode that, well, you know, had its good moments, and it was well produced in my eyes. Like, even the car scene was, you know, it was like they did the best they could with what they had. So I think overall 7.5.
Nice. I put it at a 7, which is pretty low for me and for Keenan and Kel. It's a lot more higher than like some of the season 1 ones I didn't find watchable.
Right.
I just think that like there's enough nicks in this one, enough holes in the plot armor that made me say, wow, I'm glad the whole show isn't this like this. That was my fear when we started this project.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining me, Fantas. Next episode, do you have the name of it?
I do. It's an old favorite, Adam. 3 girls, a guy, and a Cineplex.
Oh, yeah. This is... get ready for some real good stuff next week, everyone.
It's going to be one of the best ones.
All right. Send us out, Aaron.
We'll see you next time, everybody. Until then, here it goes. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Keenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If you want to stay in touch, send us an email at KeenanKelPodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/KeenanKelPodcast. Our social media accounts are all at KeenanKelPodcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody.